Welcome to Lifeline, your ultimate guide to bridging the gap between where you are to where you want to be. You can also catch Lifeline on Facebook and YouTube of Billionario News Channel. I am your host, Carelle Herrera, and in every episode, we sit down with experts and individuals who faced challenges, embraced change, and discovered what it takes to move forward. Together, we listen to stories that can help you unlock your fullest potential, whether it is in your career, relationships, health, or personal growth. Join us as we discover how you can create the life you have always dreamed of. Let us all find out right here on Lifeline. Addict ka ba? Sex, drugs, rock and roll. Para sa karamihan, lyrics lang siya sa isang kanta, but for Reujen Lista, a lifestyle. Lead guitarist, frontman, living every note like it was his last because he knew it might be. Then came the silence, the hangover that never ended, the terrifying realization he wasn't playing the rock star, he was dying as one. They told him he wouldn't live to see 30. A rock star living fast and dying young, sex, drugs, and a guitar that couldn't drown out the pain. But when the music stopped, Reujen faced a silence more terrifying than any stage fright, the truth. Sober in 2005, but at 225 pounds with a broken heart, literally, a heart attack that should have been the end became his beginning. But here's the twist no one saw coming. The same man who once chased oblivion in mosh pits would soon chase something far more dangerous. 19 full Ironmans, 39 half Ironmans, 100 plus marathons, and one unthinkable moment, shooting himself in the foot just weeks before the Ironman World Championships and still competing. Now, this isn't just about quitting addiction. This is about what happens when you take that same intensity, that same fire, and point it somewhere new. When the stage lights fade, but the spotlight finds you again at the finish line of the toughest race on earth. Tonight, the man who traded that lifestyle for triathlons, who proved that rock stars don't retire, they just find new ways to leave it all on the stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Reujen Lista. Welcome to Lifeline.
Hi, Carelle. Glad to be here.
Yes, so ang dami kong sinabi doon sa introduction mo. That was like a mouthful. And if we're going to talk about being a rock star and, reaching rock bottom, maybe I could ask, how does being an addict, having that addiction, how does that start?
Well, I think I used my addiction attitude. Yun lang naman yun eh. You have some sort of obsession from that thing, shift to another thing, and I think it got better.
Oh.
So I think trying to use one addiction, switch it to another, would be better.
Yeah, I think that's a fact there. Na lahat naman tayo, we want more. Our brains are wired because of dopamine to want more.
Dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin.
All of those chemicals in our brain that want us to be happy. So there's that search for more. You started in show business. You were performing as, in a band, and you were surrounded by so many people.
Yeah.
Did your addiction start also because of family or because of just the environment?
I think it's more curiosity.
Curiosity.
It's like that. Some people say that there's some family issues before when you were growing up, but I lived a very, very happy family life. And I think it was just the environment. So many shows, and you really have to keep up. You have to keep up with every day and every night. Yeah. Sometimes the days turn into night to day. So and then tuloy-tuloy na. So basically, it's just the curiosity of those things that you thought you would have like a sense of happiness, of maybe escaping something, or maybe numbing something. that you really don't know if it's there, and then suddenly you just feel good. The fleeting sense of the fleeting search for happiness, which in the end, you're still lost.
It wasn't enough.
It wasn't enough.
Because I think that's what happens to the brain. When you have something, at a certain point, your brain adapts to it, and it's not enough, so you want more. Did it happen to you that way? Na the bigger the drug, and then you wanted some more, and the higher high. Were you seeking that?
It's like that. Sometimes you start. Ganun naman na yun, lahat, di ba? Like in the marathon.
Okay.
You don't really train at a marathon. You just train like 5K muna.
Okay.
And then 10K, and you get better at 21K, and then suddenly you're starting to do something bigger like a marathon.
Yeah.
Same with other things. Same with exercise.
That's right.
And same with drugs. You start, alam mo yung kantang, nagsimula sa patikim-tikim. Yun yun.
Yes.
Yun yun. And then patikim-tikim. Yeah. Sometimes hindi ka bumibili. And then sometimes then you start to buy. You don't have money to buy. Sometimes, most of the time, you steal.
Yes.
You hurt people. You steal things. You lie. And then you're totally a different person. And then suddenly you're a criminal.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the whole thing of being a drug addict.
Yeah, and at that certain point wherein alam naman natin na lahat nga tayo, we want more, pero pag hindi na natin kayang i-manage, that's the thing that gets us into trouble.
The unmanageabilities.
Right, and I think, a lot of lives have been ruined by drugs, and a lot of people were not able to come back from
There's
it.
only 3 places I know, which, if you're a drug addict, there's only 3 places you'd go.
Okay.
Either you go to an institution, which is the police or jail, you go into hospital, or you go into the morgue. So I don't think anybody wants that.
Wow.
Hindi ka ba takot doon?
That's
sure.
true.
Yeah.
I think logically, alam naman ng tao na pwede itong 3 routes na to. But when you are already in that craving, that need for more, nasa addiction phase ka na, wala ka ng logic eh.
Wala ka nang pakialam.
Hindi na pumapasok yung
Hindi na.
explanation ng
Kaya
mga tao.
lalakas ng loob ng mga tao.
Ay,
They would
okay.
do whatever it takes to get that next high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you were a performer, so you felt that malakas ang loob while you're performing.
Yeah, it's like that. I mean, at first, before, we thought we sounded good, we looked good. Pero we were like, amats lang pala yun.
Pag pinakinggan mo na siya na sober, yung parang,
wow, that sounded so good, man. Parang, when the high's gone, it's like, you sound like shit.
right.
Yeah. So it's like that. It's the cycle. It's a vicious cycle.
Because it could be fun. I mean, we go for something because there's pleasure,
Yeah.
right? We don't see the pain.
Yeah.
Oh, and
That's
then I think you'll say yes to this, that pleasure does not always mean it's rewarding or that it's going to make you happy
Exactly.
in the long
Yeah.
run. Were you like in pain? Like some people don't want to stop because there's the withdrawals, all of those things, being removed from friends who you're so used to being with.
Yeah. No naman. When you're trying to be sober, you're going to that path of serenity. You really drop everything. You really drop the lifestyle. You drop the friends. The friends were the first ones to go.
Yeah.
So you really have to accept that mawawala lahat. And the one constant thing that's there lang is your family. So,
Yes.
but you never listen to your family.
That's true. They're the ones who tell you at the very start not to get into those things. So you never listen to them in the first place.
Never.
But they'd be
Yeah.
always there.
Yeah.
I get that. Now, we talked about pleasure, pain. The brain moves towards pleasure. That's why it's easier to take drugs. The pleasure to be with friends, surrounded by people who find you cool.
Yeah.
And so, facing the pain of being cut away from friends, cut away from things that give you that pleasure, paano mo ginawa? Because a lot of people, I'm sure, who are watching this, who have friends, family, who are in the same situation, they think it's so easy and logical for this person to stop drugs, but it's not. So,
It's basically having choosing, balancing everything. Kasi you don't want to be in danger all the time.
yes.
Diba? So, yun lang. It's choosing, making that choice of like, this has to stop.
And I think yun din yung galing mo na pagdating dun sa mga Ironman, sa lahat ng ginawa mo as an athlete, you were willing to go through pain for a bigger reward.
Yeah, because well, you paid for it. You paid for it, and you don't want any. There's no refund. So, and that Ironman World Championship, when you talk about Kona World Championship, that's the mecca. That's the pinnacle of all triathletes. That's the goal.
Yes.
That's the end game. Everyone wants to be in that championship, and to be. You can only go there by being really fast, being lucky, or just being having lots of money. So, having to reach that championship, you would take out everything. Even if you shoot, I literally shot myself in the foot. I broke my left shoulder while having. So I swam with one shoulder and I ran with one leg, and I still finished it. Alam mo naman, my motto has been walang mahirap sa mayabang eh. So kailangan kahit anong obstacles. Hindi naman sa mayabang na what you have, where you went to, what you're eating. It's mahihiya ka na hindi mo nagawa. Kasi, kailangan mayabang ka eh. Kasi gagawin ko to whatever it takes. And that's how I got to all those phases in my life. That pride, that yabang.
I think yan eh, parang klaro ka dun sa taong gusto mong maging, the person you want to be.
Yes.
And that is, this is who I am. It's an insult if I don't do that.
Exactly. And then you turn on TV, you're looking out, ako nga, one pinky toe lang natanggal and they put it back. But you see, a lot of really strong athletes now, walang kamay. Walang dalawang kamay.
Correct.
Walang paa.
Correct.
How is he competing in a triathlon which you would swim, bike, and run? So what's your excuse?
Correct.
So parang, sila nga kaya nila eh. Ikaw, isang toe lang yung tanggal sa'yo, isang balikan. So you have no excuse. If you really want something to be done, you really have to say yes. You have to be committed. And what your mind can conceive, your body will
can
achieve.
Absolutely.
So that's the whole thing.
So, ang dami pa akong gustong pag-usapan at tatanungin ko si Reujen dun sa angle na yon about obsessions.
Oh, yeah.
So, we'll go on a break for a bit. So, we'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to Lifeline. Now, I'm going to show a very interesting survey. I did a survey on our audience members, and I asked them this question about how they feel towards addicts. Because I'm sure, meron yung mga kaibigan, kamag-anak, you know. So, ano yung general feeling? And if you could see here, ayan. Yung mga malalaking words, yan yung pinakamaraming sagot ng mga respondents. So, ang lumalabas na tatlo, na pinakamalaki would be pity, scared, sad. Now, parang fourth is fear and compassion, I think, ranked there. So, did you feel any of these from people during that time?
You know what? If you're a drug addict, you don't really care. You know, I always thought that, you know, like
true.
people are entitled to their own opinion.
Yes,
Hindi
yes.
ka naman pinapakain ng mga yan. And di ka naman, you don't really care. So, you don't care. People are, you know, they say whatever you want, you know.
Yeah, because you're just there. You're focused.
You're just yourself. It's
Yeah.
like everybody's your, unless you're talking to your source.
Okay. And even if it's family, because I know this, you know, I have a family member who went through addiction, and we were scared. Every time I see him, I'm scared. Every time the phone rings, I'm scared. Is he in with the cops again, you know?
Exactly.
I'm scared. And of course, I'm sad.
And you don't want that to happen to your family.
Yes.
You don't want your family to go through that.
Yes.
If you really have the sense, if you have some small sense pa of some sense in you that
Conscience, ganon.
Yeah. Kasi I always believe that there's still good in everyone.
Yeah.
I mean, we were born bad.
No one is. So if you have, family, friends, and they tell you, you know, Rouge, I have someone in my life who's going through drug addiction and, you know, some form of addiction. What can we do to help? Because naaawa kami. We're sad for them. What can family members do? Your family's always been there, you said, but
Yeah.
what works?
it works with different methods.
Okay.
The one I took was to go to rehab. I checked myself into rehab alone, and that's the thing that worked. And then I escaped after a month. I escaped. And I was mayabang na. I was like, they don't want to catch me.
Kaya mo na to eh.
Yeah, kaya ko na. Cured na ako eh.
Hindi ka na
But there's no
kailangan.
cure for that. There's no cure for that. Once an addict, you're always an addict.
Yeah.
So I really believe that there's no cure for that. So might as well, wala palang cure. Eh.
Yeah. And
So
you
might
did
as-
the work.
Might as well use this. I mean,
Yeah.
if you go to 12-step rehab, like first you accept that you're powerless over your addiction.
Yeah.
Your lives have become unmanageable. So that working that 12 steps is so damn hard.
Wow.
It's like Bill W. came up with this 12-step, and then he got concepts of Christianity, Buddhism, Mahavishnu, and everything, and puts it
together.
in one thing. But to live those steps
It's hard.
authentically, it's really hard. So you don't have to change yourself, just shift your addiction. And this is what I did.
That's what you did. So you got out and did the work on yourself.
But first thing you have to do is stop the drugs.
Yeah.
Stop the alcohol.
Nakatulong din siguro yung pulling you out of the environment first and foremost, just to detox and clean. Because I think that's the problem with a lot of people. They want to stop, but they don't remove themselves from the environment.
Yeah. And then sometimes you miss your friends, but sometimes you just show them. In my case, all my friends were still doing drugs. And then that's the time they saw, hey, how come this guy is not doing drugs and he's still here with us?
Yeah.
So
ang
they
galing.
figured out the way, and then they went into rehab.
Wow.
You
Na-inspire sila
don't
doon.
really force someone to, hey, you have to check yourself in.
That's right. You said it's a shift. You shifted your
Shifted.
obsession, and some people do that. They shift from addiction to faith. They
To
become
faith.
ministers. They become pastors, right?
That's the first thing, actually.
Okay.
When you, a lot of people, they turn into faith. You have to hold on to something. Hold on to something that you think would take you out of that
Yes.
state.
Yes.
And faith is the number one thing.
Right.
I was just crazy enough to do a lot of weird stuff because I gained weight. 225 pounds is not, for a guy
Yeah.
5'8", I mean, 225 pounds is not, so it's a heavy thing.
But then it's also a possible na nag-transfer doon from the addiction to the drugs. It became food.
It
Kaya
became
ka
food.
nag-225.
First time you can sleep, first time you could eat, parang wow, sarap palang kumain and matulog.
Correct.
So, and then you gain weight, and that's it. That's why a lot of people, when they stop doing this thing that you've been doing it for, I've been doing it for 25 years.
Yeah.
And your body got used to that thing, and then suddenly you just stop it, and suddenly bloat, boom, and then you have a heart attack. And then yun. So, kung sino ba may gusto mamatay, di ba?
Oo naman.
So, yun. So, I have to like think of something that would change my life. So, which is, and then there was a thing in 2009, Ironman. And at that time, I thought Ironman was the hardest. Hindi pala.
Okay.
Hindi kasi like in the age of ChatGPT and the insatiable need of attention now,
Yeah,
a lot
yeah.
of people are making crazier and harder stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, to challenge
Again, that's the need for
to
more.
challenge the human
Yeah.
spirit. So I figured, maybe lahat ng mga to drug addict dati. So parang gusto nila to challenge themselves. There was one guy who swam the whole Iceland for 1,000 miles nonstop. There was a girl last 2 weeks ago who just ran 1,000 kilometers in 12 days.
Yeah.
And then just like in many of it's the to challenge the human spirit to do
Yes.
something bigger than
Yes,
themselves.
and you're right there na lahat siguro yon addict because of dopamine nga. And
The
the,
dopamine,
tendency that chemical is just asking us to have more. And again, pagka nagplateau na yan, it wants and needs more. So more success, more heights, greater
Yeah.
heights that they need to accomplish. And the good thing though is, hindi naman kasi siya masama talaga eh. Hindi siya enemy, yung dopamine and the need for more.
Yeah.
It's just that you need to be able to channel it to something
You
better.
have to channel it.
Which
And
you
that's,
did.
That's when you get obsession.
Okay.
You get you use obsession in that sense that you have to laser focus that obsession para you know what your goal is, your end goal.
Wow.
And that's the whole thing. Imagine you start, malay mo, in the future I might climb up Mount Everest or something. But at the moment, I'm happy doing this thing.
And ang ginagawa mo ngayon is you're also coaching other people now para mag
Yes.
triathlons. And I love that you're coaching people who are also addicts and
Former drug addicts.
former
yeah.
drug addicts. See, tell me about that.
I think they figured it out that, hey, this thing worked for him. Can I do that too? And then you explain to them. Of course, you start baby steps. Ganun lang naman yun. And it's like, oh, sarap pala. But the number one thing is passion. You really can't force this one to, like, it's like a chore. You have to do this, you have to do no. They should have the thing inside themselves to find the passion in doing these things. Kailangan gusto mo. Kasi mahirap i-force, ipilit mo eh. Kailangan gusto nila, and they think that they love it, they want it because what it does to themselves, physically, emotionally, and maybe, yabang.
Right. And you're not just doing this just because of the achievement of,
No.
oh, I'm being able to do 100+ marathons.
No.
It's not that.
It's just piled up lang. No,
Okay.
it's not that.
But what is it? What's your meaning and your purpose?
It's just the lifestyle, I think. You keep on doing this thing and say, yeah, and then you podium, and then, I was third pala, I was first pala. So, and then when you get older, they have to slow down now. I keep on telling them, bro, it's not biology. That's the issue here. It's psychology.
That's right.
And the right mentality to, kasi, of course, meron kang injury, ganyan, kasi hindi mo ginagamit, hindi mo ginagawa. But you have to find the passion first to do this. If you want to cycle, if you want to run, if you want to do yoga, anything that would keep you out of that addiction. So the reason why we attend an hour of AA meetings and NA, Narcotics Anonymous meetings, is because to take that 1 hour out of addiction, that mindset. Imagine if you can shift that to an hour of exercise.
Right.
And that's better.
Right.
And then you get addicted, you get 2 hours of exercise.
Right.
So it's the more and more, and then you end up the whole day, you didn't think about addiction because you were too busy
Correct.
training.
Yun eh, you're too busy doing other things that's
Yeah.
more meaningful na bakit ko kailangan yan? And you know that if you do take those things, it can also harm your health, which is, ito yung tinitrain mo para sa competition.
Exactly. Tapos hindi mo pala alam. And then, yun lang. And then, gumagaling ka, bumibilis ka. Like, I grew up in Don Bosco and they say that idleness is the workshop of the devil.
Yes.
So dapat, parati kang gumagala, parati kang, and then once you stop movement, that's where depression comes. When you don't move, when you're too comfortable in your chair, that's where all the problems come in. I've been telling my students to be comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's right.
So kailangan silang masanay sa mahirap.
The discomfort and the pain, they are necessary.
Exactly.
Okay, so, I have so many things to ask, but siguro yung one last na lang kasi parang bitin na bitin tong conversation.
Bitin
Alam ko
eh.
marami tayong pwede pang pag-usapan tungkol dito. But, Reujen, what is your lifeline? If you were to give that lifeline to other people who have gone through or are going through addiction, what could be your advice?
My advice to them is, I'll just tell them life is beautiful. If you think that life is beautiful, that there's always hope. There's always hope in something for the better. Kasi it's not worth living if you lose hope.
That's right.
Hope that sometimes there's something better tomorrow. So, of course, we don't know what will happen tomorrow, but then again, you just live for today. And you just get through the day being hopeful. And tomorrow, you wake up in the morning and you thank God that you're awake and you try to affect change, baby steps. And hopefully when you try to change yourself, you try to change someone else's life. And then they try to do it another way, so multiply and then ripple effect. So everybody, that's how you change the world.
Now that you're sober, do you appreciate family more
Yeah.
and the things you have?
You're more focused, you're more thinking about the connections of everybody, not just your family, but friends, everyone. So,
They say that a person gets into addiction because they're disconnected, or they become addicts because they're disconnected from reality, disconnected from family. So I think to connect with people who care about you, connect with institutions who could help,
Yeah.
that would be good.
There are a lot already. There are a lot already. And I've been telling them, alam mo, bili ka lang ng bisikleta, tanggal yung depression mo.
Totoo yan. Because it
Yun lang
releases
yun.
endorphins,
Yeah,
yes, and
yun lang
serotonin.
yun. It solves a lot of problems.
Okay. So you said a while ago that the idle mind, the idle body is
The idle mind.
the idle
is,
mind
The idle mind is the workshop of the
is the
devil.
workshop of the devil
Yeah.
because wala kang ginagawa. And we also know that your psychology affects your physiology, how you think, it affects your body. But the other way around also works. Your body, your physiology affects your psychology. So what you did is to put yourself out there and, to just get up each day and do something each day that energizes you and empowers you.
Yeah.
Whew. Tonight, Reujen Lista showed us that recovery is not a straight line. It is an Ironman. He proved that the same intensity that once destroyed him could rebuild him stronger. That the man who once played with fire could learn to become the flame. Most powerfully, that our darkest moments don't define us, they prepare us. Reujen Lista didn't just escape his past, he outran it, outswam it, outcycled it. He showed us that the same hands that once gripped a liquor bottle and whatever else could learn to grip handlebars just as tight. That the lungs that once filled with smoke could learn to breathe through 2.4 miles of open water. That the heart that nearly gave out had 19 Ironmans worth of fight left in it. More than medals, more than finish lines, his real victory, proving that rock stars are not born, they are forged in the fires of their own comebacks to anyone who's still fighting their demons. You don't need to erase your past. You don't need to pretend it never happened. You just need what Reujen found, a new finish line to chase. Maybe yours is in the pool, on the track, in the road, or simply in tomorrow. Wherever it is, run towards it like your life depends on it. Because sometimes it just might. To our viewers, we'll see you next time. I am Carelle Herrera, and this is Lifeline.